Hi there everyone, and welcome to my second Salamangreat video. In this video I'll be showing a quick combo to make a rank 4. I'll be showing what you can do with your opening hand and also be giving a few tips for new players and maybe some experienced players. I would normally do a combo video, however with Salamangreat there aren't really any combos, it's more knowing what to do with your hand and what things you can make with it. Now this first combo will be a combo that makes us a rank 4. As I said before. So our opening hand needs to be something like this. We want to open a Signet Mining, a Falco and a Spinny. However, this Signet Mining could be a Circle or a Sea Archiver, and this Falco could also be a Jaguar. Now we're going to start off by activating Signet Mining and discarding Spinny, and we want to add Gazelle. Now this will trigger Gazelle's effect because a Salamangreat monster was sent to the graveyard. It didn't have to be in hand when it activates. We'll special summon our Gazelle and activate the effect to dump a copy of Roar, but you could also dump Rage. I just prefer Roar, especially going to game 1. We're then going to normal summon our Falco, link it off for a copy of Salamangreat Balinx. Balinx effect is going to trigger. We're not going to use Falco's effect yet, but Balinx will add us Sanctuary. We're now going to use Spinny's effect in the grave, special summon itself back out, and we're going to overlay for a copy of Mirage Stalio. Stalio is now going to activate. We're going to send Gazelle, and that will summon a copy of Falco. We're now going to link these off for a copy of Sunlight Wolf. We're going to activate Falco's effect in grave to return Foul to our hand and to special summon Falco. And now we go Wolf Chainlink 1 and Foul Chainlink 2, because we special summon the Salamangreat monster, we can special summon it from our hand. So we special summon the Foul, and with Sunlight Wolf we add back our Gazelle. We now overlay these two. Now this could be any rank 4, I'm currently running Abyss Dweller, but for the upcoming format I think Baguska might be a bit better, however I'm still running Dweller. And now we relink for our second copy of Sunlight Wolf. And we use Wolf's other effect to add back our Roar, and we set our Roar. So we would also have 2 other cards in our hand to play with, possibly hand traps or further extenders, but this is just a short little combo to show how you can make a rank 4 quite easily without playing Parallel Exceed anymore. For this next section I'll be doing a few test hands. As I said before, with Salamangreat it's not so much about knowing the combos, it's about knowing how to get the best out of your opening hand. I'm just going to quickly shuffle, just so you guys know that it's random, and I'm not stacking, or whatever. Just shuffle like that, randomly, I'll then cut, and we'll see what we get. So we've got a Signet Mining, Imperm, Imperial Order, not bad, a Foul, and an Ash Blossom. So with this opening hand, I would probably activate the Mining, and you can ditch the Foul, but if you get ashed here, you would have no follow-up play at all to go into your link monsters. You would have Imperial Order, but your opponent might be able to out it before you top deck a Salamangreat. So here I'd actually get rid of the ash because we can recur it. And I would of course add our copy of Salamangreat Gazelle. Here it is. I'm now going to normal summon the Gazelle. I'm going to activate Gazelle's effect. I'm going to chain block it with Foul as well. So we summon the Foul, we use Gazelle. And we want to send Roar, especially if we have Imperial Order, we really want to be sending a Negate, just in case they have something to get rid of it. So I'm going to send Roar. I'm now going to link Foul off for Balinx. Balinx effect will trigger, adding our field spell. We're going to activate the field spell. We're now going to link into Sunlight Wolf, link again into Sunlight Wolf effect to add back Roar, and then to end the turn we're going to set these 3 cards and we pass here. This is a pretty good turn 1 board. Obviously if they have something to get rid of your Wolf, you're in a bit of bother because you don't have any recursion, but I don't think we could have manage that any better. However, we do have, of course, Imperial Order, which is a complete blowout card against most decks. We do have Monster Negation and Omni Negation as well. And don't forget, Sunlight Wolf is always protected with the Balinks, which is really nice. We'll move on to the second test hand. I'm going to shuffle the deck again. Spinny, Sign It Mining, excellent. Effect Veiler, Ghost Spell, and Foul. Okay. I would start off by activating the Sign It Mining, and you want to ditch your Spinny because you can bring it back from grave. And you want to summon out Gazelle again. Now the effect of Gazelle will trigger because Spinny was sent to the grave. You go Gazelle Chainlink 1, Foul Chainlink 2, nice chain blocking again. It is unusual to see Foul 2 hands in a row, but it is what it is. And again, with Gazelle, we want to send Roar. Now from here, we can actually make a rank 4, I believe. So we'll use Spinny's effect in grave to special summon himself. First, however, we will... we'll overlay into the Salio first. We're then going to activate Mirage Stylio's effect. We'll detach our Gazelle. And here we want to special summon from the deck a copy of Jack Jaguar. We're going to link off Jack Jaguar for a copy of Salamangreat Balinks. Balinks effect will activate, add the field spell to our hand. We will activate said field spell. We'll now link into our copy of Sunlight Wolf. Now here we want to activate Jack Jaguar before going to our second copy in case it gets negated. So we'll target the Mirage Stylio, send it back. Special summon Jack Jaguar. This will trigger Sunlight Wolf's effect. We'll add back our Gazelle. We'll relink the Sunlight Wolf. We'll activate Sunlight Wolf's effect, add back a Salamangreat spell or trap card. We'll add back Salamangreat Roar. And now we can again overlay for a rank 4. Again, I run Dweller, but again, you could just run Baguska instead, or anything else that you want. Dagaras is pretty good as well. So with this end board, you've got your set Roar, which is an Omni Negate, counter trap, which is very, very powerful. You've got an Effect Veiler, Ghost Spell, and you've also got Abyss Dweller, which is Floodgate for the graveyard. And your Sunlight Wolf is protected with Balinks, and you also have follow-up for next turn too. So this is a very strong going first board. Again, with Salamangreat, like I said in my first video, you're not really looking to win the game turn 1. You just want to stop your opponent from playing as much as possible so you can OTK in the following turn. So the boards aren't really that oppressive. It's just about staying alive and interrupting your opponent enough so they can't really put up any interruptions or kill you. I'll do one more test hand just best out of 3 for the sake of it. I'll again give it a very quick shuffle. Ghost Spell again, Will, Veiler, Desires, and Foul. So this is not a great hand, depends what we get from Desires. Now because we have the Will of the Salamangreat, we will be able to make a relinked Sunlight Wolf if necessary. We will start off by normal summoning Foul, linking it off for Balinks. We want to get the field spell out of the deck before we use our Pot of Desires. Here I'll shuffle again just to make sure it's random. I'll then cut again because my opponent would most likely cut here. I'll just activate the field spell, and here I would activate Pot of Desires. So I'm going to banish the 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. And assuming we don't get ashed, we're going to draw 2 cards. Perfect. Okay. This has turned a mediocre hand into a very powerful hand. We're now going to activate Will to bring back our copy of Foul. We link these 2 off for a copy of Sunlight Wolf. We want to relink the Sunlight Wolf because Rage works best when it's relinked, so it allows us to pop 2 instead of sending 1 Salamangreat to pop 1. To end the turn, we want to set our copy of Rage, and yeah, we've got a Ghost Spell, an Ash Blossom, and a Veiler in hand. We have our set Rage, which is a pop 2. We have Sunlight Wolf, which is protected by Balinks as usual, and we also have Will for follow-up turn if our board gets broken, for example. I'll next go over just a few tips that are worth bearing in mind for when you do play Salamangreats. Some of these tips will be very basic, but others you might find useful. The first one is one with Falco Engrave. So its grave effect is you can return one Salamangreat monster you control to the hand to special summon this card from the grave. A mistake a lot of new players make is they may target a link monster. It will go back to the extra deck, however you will not be able to summon Falco because it did not go back to hand. The same works for if you have a Spinny that was special summoned from the grave, it would be banished, so you wouldn't be able to get your Falco out of the grave. We're now going to take a quick look at Salamangreat Circle. One thing you always want to do with Circle, if possible, is activate the adding effect in the draw phase, because this will allow you to play around Droll and Lockbird, which means you can then use your Balinx effect, you can use your Flame Buffalo effect as well, and you can use Pot of Desires. It's just a minor detail, but it does come up. Another thing to note with Circle is it can protect your monsters from Nibiru. So if you open up, going first, a really good hand like this one for example, where you can easily get to a Salamangreat Roar, you might want to save the Circle in case they have Nibiru, because your board is already really good, so why would you risk it in case you lose it all, essentially, because your Salamangreat traps of Rage and Roar, which you would dump with the Gazelle here, would be turned off if you have Nibiru. And if you activate Circle, there's not really much else you can get from it. You could possibly get a Foxy, but you would then, even if Nibiru'd, only be able to make a Balinx, which wouldn't be very good with with Rage. So yeah, it's just one thing to note. You don't always have to use the adding effect of Salamangreat Circle if your hand is good enough. Next we're going to take a very quick look at Salamangreat Roar. Now, the effect in grave is if you relink summon a Salamangreat Link monster with a monster of its own name, you can set this card from your grave to the field, but banish it when it leaves the field. Now, say it moves over to your opponent's turn, and you want to activate your copy of Roar, and they maybe have a Solemn Judgment. This would get negated. So because it was negated, it doesn't count as leaving the field, so it would actually go to the graveyard, and you'd then have the opportunity to recycle it later on. It's just something worth noting because Salamangreat is such a good deck when it comes to managing resources. You want to get every advantage you can, and this is just a ruling that is worth knowing. Next I want to talk about Salamangreat Foxy. When you use Foxy's normal effect, game 1 I'd recommend that it is probably fine because your opponent most likely will not have an Nibiru. But in games 2 and 3, you only want to use it if your hand is amazing and you can play through Nibiru, or if your hand is rubbish and you need some more extenders or you need to see some form of interruption. It's just really good protection from Nibiru, so its graveyard effect is the reason why most people run it at 2 or 3. If it's in the grave and there's a face-up spell track card on the field, it could be a Sanctuary, it could also be something your opponent has. All you have to do is discard a Salamangreat card, special summon it, and then you can pop one card in the field. This is really good for getting rid of cards like There Could Be Only One, for example, Imperial Order as well. It's just something to bear in mind when to use your Foxy's normal summon effect and when not to use it. This next little tip is one regarding Sunlight Wolf. Sunlight Wolf has 2 effects. When you summon to a zone it points to, you can add a fire monster from your graveyard back to your hand. And the second effect is if it was relinked, or if it was linked to someone using Sunlight Wolf as material, you can add one Salamangreat spell track card from your graveyard to your hand. Now, what you want to try avoid doing is to relink the Sunlight Wolf and then use both effects, because if you were to relink the wolf and then try and use both effects, if you got impermed, you're not going to get any advantage from that Sunlight Wolf. But let's say we've just summoned the Sunlight Wolf, we can trigger Fowl's effect, special summon to the zone it points to, and Wolf can, for example, add us back Gazelle, and then we can relink the Wolf now into another Sunlight Wolf, and because Gazelle's in grave, we'd have a spell trap in grave. Now we can activate the other effect to add back Rage, and if they imperm us here, then it's not great. However, we have got a Gazelle back in hand, which is not what would have happened if we'd have activated the effect, both effects with the relinked Sunlight Wolf. So yeah, that's just a little one to be aware of. This will be the last section of the video, and this is one that comes up quite a lot, especially amongst new players who think that adding Sanctuary is better than drawing 2 off Buffalo. Now I'll show you what the normal line of play is here. You'd normal summon your Buffalo, and you'd link it off for Balinx. Now the debate here often is, what do I do with Chainlink order? Do I go Buffalo Chainlink 1 or do I go Balinx Chainlink 1? You will always want to go and draw off Buffalo as opposed to adding Sanctuary to your hand. It's just so much more powerful. So here you'd want to go Buffalo Chainlink 1 and Balinx Chainlink 2. You want to grab this field spell with Balinx first, because it also means you don't draw it off of Buffalo, but also, as I said before, drawing 2, and in the case of Salamangreat, this is often a +2, it's basically pot agreed because of the amount of recursion that you have. It's just so much more powerful than guaranteeing that you get your field spell on the field. In fact, oftentimes if someone negates your Balinks, it's quite a good thing because it means you're one negate down for something that's not really that important, and next turn you can also get your field spell by recurring a monster and then going to another Balinks. So if we activate Buffalo's effect here, we've got a Fowl and a Gazelle, which is, yeah, that's really good. So we could always use the Jack Jaguar here, I guess, or something else. That ends the video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope some of these were useful. There are probably quite a few other small interactions with Salamangreat that I haven't covered here, such as maybe some link climbing effects, for example, or if your build is different, then maybe there are some other things that are worth noting. But hopefully, again, this shows you some of the basics, and maybe it's one or two things that you didn't know beforehand, and maybe the combo lines were helpful as well. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.